AI-generated malware is now being mass-produced by nation-state actors. A major cybercrime forum selling stolen credentials has just been seized by law enforcement, and critical vulnerabilities in widely used enterprise systems could give attackers full control of corporate networks. At the same time, new espionage campaigns, phishing platforms that bypass multi-factor authentication, and even vehicle tire sensors are creating unexpected security risks. Welcome to Threatopia, where we break down real cyber threats, breaches, and the security patterns that actually matter. This is the cybersecurity briefing you can't afford to miss. Streaming from YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms, I'm your host, Mike Kramer. For more than 2 decades, I've worked across private and public sector environments globally, helping organizations design resilient security architectures, modernize operations, and reduce real-world risk. As much as I don't like the big boom in my face, I do feel this microphone has better sound. And the last, 2 episodes, I used my lav mic. Not bad, but just hard to beat the quality of this mic. So went back to this. Let me know what you think. Let's get on with it. So make sure to stay to the end, because one of today's stories reveals how attackers can silently track vehicles using nothing more than tire pressure sensors. Looking ahead, several major cybersecurity and technology events are coming up over the next few months that security professionals should keep on their radar. The RSA Conference 2026 takes place March 23rd through March 26th at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, bringing together tens of thousands of cybersecurity leaders to discuss threats, policy, and emerging security technologies. NVIDIA's GTC AI conference runs March 17th through March 21st at the San Jose McHenry Convention Center in San Jose, California, focusing heavily on AI infrastructure, accelerated computing, and the security implications of modern AI systems. Google Cloud Next takes place April 9th through April 11th at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center in Las Vegas, where cloud architects and security leaders gather to explore cloud infrastructure, AI services, and enterprise security strategies. The SANS Orlando 2026 training event runs March 29th through April 3rd at the Hyatt Regency Orlando in Florida, offering intensive hands-on cybersecurity training across dozens of technical disciplines. Looking slightly further ahead, Black Hat USA will run August 2nd through August 7th at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, followed immediately by DEF CON 34 from August 6th through August 9th at the Las Vegas Convention Center, 2 of the most influential security research events in the world. Today's security tip is simple but extremely effective. Disable macros by default in Microsoft Office. Many modern cyber attacks still begin with malicious documents that attempt to run macros when opened, which can install malware or steal credentials. Most organizations and home users rarely need macros, so disabling them significantly reduces the risk of phishing-based malware infections. If macros are required for work, only enable them for trusted documents from verified sources. Today we have 16 stories to cover, so here are the most important cybersecurity developments. Pakistan-linked threat group APT36 is using AI coding tools to mass-produce malware written in obscure programming languages and deploy it at scale against organizations. The campaign floods security tools with large volumes of implants while using legitimate cloud platforms like Slack, Discord, and Google Sheets for command and control communications. Europol and several major technology companies dismantled the Tycoon 2FA phishing as a service platform used to bypass multi-factor authentication protections. The service used adversary in the middle techniques to intercept authentication tokens and enable account takeover attacks. Cisco disclosed 48 vulnerabilities affecting its firewall products, including 2 critical flaws that could allow attackers to gain root access through Secure Firewall Management Center. Security experts warn that public exploits may soon follow, and organizations are urged to patch immediately. Researchers report that organizations in Latin America are now facing more than double the number of cyber attacks per week compared to the United States. Phishing, ransomware, info stealers, and banking malware are especially prevalent in sectors such as healthcare and financial services. A critical command injection vulnerability in VMware ARIA operations, tracked as CVE 2026-22719, is currently being exploited in the wild. Successful exploitation can provide attackers with root access and potentially compromise entire virtual infrastructure environments. The Chinese espionage group Silver Dragon, linked to APT41, is targeting government organizations in Southeast Asia and Europe through phishing and exploitation of internet-facing servers. The campaign uses DLL hijacking, DNS tunneling, and custom malware to maintain long-term access. The India-linked threat group known as Sloppy Lemming is escalating attacks against nuclear regulatory bodies, defense firms, and critical infrastructure in South Asia. Their operations use phishing documents and custom Rust-based malware delivered through cloud-hosted command and control infrastructure. Researchers discovered that tire pressure monitoring systems in vehicles transmit unencrypted radio signals that can uniquely identify vehicles. Attackers within roughly 50 meters can intercept these signals and potentially track vehicles without the driver's knowledge. Security experts warn that organizations are struggling to securely authenticate AI agents and other non-human workloads across cloud environments. Many still rely on static credentials or unrotated keys, which significantly increases the risk of unauthorized access. Researchers are warning about a strategy called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later, where attackers collect encrypted data today with the intention of decrypting it in the future using quantum computers. Sensitive information that appears secure today may eventually be exposed as quantum capabilities mature. That is a very scary topic. We're going to stay on top of that one. Security researchers report a surge in phishing campaigns, malvertising attacks, and abuse of legitimate remote management tools. Meanwhile, new AI capabilities are raising concerns about automated de-anonymization and large-scale privacy risks. De-anonymization, that's a tongue twister. The Iran-linked group Dust Spectre targeted Iraqi government officials by impersonating the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The campaign delivered new malware strains using techniques such as DLL sideloading and in-memory PowerShell execution. Security researchers warn that multi-factor authentication alone does not stop many credential attacks in Windows environments. Attackers can still abuse authentication paths such as NTLM, Kerberos tickets, service accounts, and remote services that do not always trigger MFA. Russian threat group APT-28 launched a phishing campaign targeting Ukrainian organizations using new malware strains known as Bad Paw and Meow Meow. The multi-stage infection chain includes sandbox, or is that litterbox, evasion techniques, and persistent backdoors for remote command execution. International law enforcement agencies seized the Cybercrime forum Leakbase, which was widely used to sell stolen credentials and hack databases. Authorities conducted arrests and seized user data as part of the global operation. A surge of hacktivist and state-aligned groups launched nearly 150 cyber attacks targeting 110 organizations across 16 countries during rising Middle East tensions. These operations include distributed denial of service attacks, phishing campaigns, and data breaches targeting government and financial institutions. So on to our analysis of these events. Taken together, these incidents highlight several consistent patterns shaping today's cyber threat landscape. The first major theme is identity-centric attacks. Across multiple incidents, attackers are focusing on stolen credentials, session tokens, and authentication gaps rather than traditional malware alone. Platforms like the Tycoon 2FA phishing service show how adversaries use adversary-in-the-middle techniques mapped in MITRE ATT&CK as T1557 to intercept authentication tokens and bypass traditional MFA. This is reinforced by the continued abuse of valid accounts. MITRE technique T1078, our favorite. Once attackers obtain legitimate credentials, they can move through environments using legitimate protocols like RDP, SMB, or cloud APIs, often blending in with normal activity. This is why identity security and continuous monitoring of authentication behavior are becoming central components of modern detection strategies. A second major pattern is the industrialization of cyber operations. Groups such as the APT-36 are using AI tools to mass generate malware in multiple programming languages. Rather than relying on highly sophisticated code, attackers are overwhelming defenders with sheer volume, a tactic sometimes described as distributed denial of detection. At the same time, cybercrime infrastructure is becoming increasingly organized. Platforms like Leakbase enabled large-scale trading of stolen credentials and malware tools, effectively functioning as marketplaces for cybercrime. Even though law enforcement takedowns disrupt these ecosystems, new platforms typically emerge rather quickly. A third theme involves attackers increasingly abusing legitimate infrastructure. Many campaigns now use common platforms such as cloud storage, messaging services, or enterprise tools for command and control communications, which aligns with MITRE technique T1071. By blending malicious activity with legitimate network traffic, attackers make detection significantly more difficult. Finally, the exploitation of enterprise platforms remains a major risk. Vulnerabilities in systems like Cisco firewalls and VMware cloud management software demonstrate how a single unpatched system can give attackers administrative control over large portions of a network or cloud environment. For defenders, the key takeaway is that modern threats increasingly target identity systems, trusted infrastructure, and cloud management layers rather than just endpoints. One important security concept highlighted by today's stories is the adversary in the middle attacks. In this type of attack, a malicious server sits between the victim and the real login page of the service. The victim believes they are logging into the legitimate site, but the attacker intercepts the session in real time and captures authentication tokens. Because the login process appears legitimate, this technique can bypass traditional MFA methods that rely on one-time codes. That is why newer approaches such as phishing-resistant MFA, hardware security keys, and passkeys are becoming increasingly important. Across malware campaigns, identity attacks, and critical infrastructure vulnerabilities, this week's stories show that the modern cyber battlefield is increasingly centered around identity, cloud infrastructure, and the rapid automation of attacks. If you found this briefing valuable, please like this show because it really helps us out. Thanks for listening to Threatopia and stay safe out there. What's your favorite outro music? Is it the old one, the crazy energy one, or the more funky one? I don't know what they like.